It's lively at the morgue tonight. Doc Robbins has the body of a homeless man, which unfortunately is a routine occurrence. But this Vic has some interesting anomalies. Brass can get you the address of where the body was found. But first start with our best evidence, the body itself.
Hey, I'm Warwick Brown. We can use another good CSI. Catherine says you don't miss much. How about this time you don't miss anything? So let's go see the doc and find out what put this homeless corpse on the coroner's radar.
Warwick and the newbie, welcome to the morgue. Very helpful destination, unless it's your last. And I hope you aren't squeamish, because the body of evidence on any murder case starts with the body as evidence. I'm Dr. Albert Robbins, but we're going to be friends, so Doc or Al is fine. I'm here to answer your questions, uncover little pieces of truth that will add up to a bigger truth. How our Vic died, what the murder weapon was, possibly the deceased's identity. I deal with the kind of trace evidence that doesn't make itself obvious at the crime scene.
So what's the story here, Doc? Grissom said you found something that didn't quite add up on a homeless guy.
First glance, we've got a male, mid-30s, apparent alcohol poisoning fatality. Of course, we have bleeding out of the mouth consistent with this kind of death, and the expected filthy, ragged, and ill-fitting clothing. Not exactly the top story in the 11 o'clock news, right? But consider the stomach contents, traces of white French truffles, which go around $150 an ounce. Plus, we have a blood alcohol reading of 0.50. High, you say? Too high. The hardest core drinker would typically pass out long before hitting that mark. Well, that's a start. I've prepped a DNA sample for the computer as a matter of procedure. Normally pretty straightforward, but not in this case. The entire body should be rigid from rigor mortis. That's muscle losing its adenosine triphosphate and hardening. But the stiffness was inconsistent, absent in several joints, indicating that the Vic was moved. And without knowing the environmental conditions at the real site of the death, determining time of death becomes quite difficult. Wakeman Vodka. Pretty high-class brand for a homeless guy, don't you think? Sure, but here's another surprise for you. I found indications our fragrant vagrant may have been dressed posthumously. You'll also note that we have an oddly well-groomed corpse beneath the rags. Well-groomed, but you've still got the malnutrition and poorly healed wounds, consistent with the life on the streets. Some post-mortem bruising on the face, too. If you don't tell Grissom, I'll share a guess with you. The nose test says that's your standard issue garden variety vomit. Involuntary contractions cause the stomach to spew its contents up the esophagus. Lots of ways that reflex can be triggered. From a finger down the throat, to flu, to feelings of guilt. He had a heart transplant, probably as an adolescent. So this is not a man who always lived his life on the streets. No evidence of any anti-rejection drugs in his system, though off his meds he may have been living on borrowed time anyway. Bruises indicate he may have been forcefully held down, not a post-mortem injury. Impression and tan line on his finger suggests he'd worn a ring for some time, months at least.
Hey. I amplified and graphed that DNA of yours, scanned it into the computer. Not the most fun I've had today. That was vomit, thank you very much, delicately laced with asparagus and scrambled egg. Asparagus omelet, maybe? Traces of DNA from the lining of the digestive tract, faint but not something Greg Sanders is likely to miss, which I have amplified into full profile. Oh, and sometimes DNA traces like that in food could indicate a stomach ulcer.
I don't know. Not sure any of these are similar enough. I don't know. Not sure any of these are similar enough. It's not a match. Not even similar.
Yeah? What do you need, guys? Hey, you're gonna love this. How about a condemned building that was once an insane asylum near the edge of town? Real eyesore. Drives us crazy, all the disturbance reports we get, kids causing trouble out there. I'll secure it for you. Well, Vegas isn't short on gourmet dining, but still, those morsels are rare. I'll run a check on restaurants listing their specials online. Only one hit for the past few days. Le Figaro restaurant, right downtown.
This pad's perfect for nightmares. Musty and damp. Prints cut off at the break. Barely a partial. Part of a print, but it stops at the edge where the glass is broken. You catch that pungent smell? Alcohol, maybe? Looks like fresh paint over here. Hey, we got some muddy footprints here. Ward Brown's first rule, it all comes down to shoe prints. Vic's blood. This is where the EMTs picked up the body. It's pretty common to have bleeding from the mouth in an alcohol poisoning. No need to sample it. Yeah, in this town it's better to be lucky than smart, and we just got lucky. A fly must have dropped her eggs on the Vic's blood. We're getting closer to the time of death. Disruption and the dust could be important. This is kind of out of place, you think? Not as dusty as everything else. The blood, the wheelchair. Our Vic was wheeled over here and dumped. Damn, that's cold. Seatback looks really weathered. Well, this little number rolled a long way. Can't make out this number, but it's etched in the metal. Pretty superficial. Sometimes acid brings out more of the detail, but it might destroy the image altogether. Any ideas? Great idea. Microcell makes a good negative mold.
What's up?
Even when you add up 1 + 1, we still come up a partial.
Mostly water, but also alcohol. Vodka. Distinctive formulation, so we've got a brand. Leroy Banks Premium.
I've seen that stuff. $6 a bottle. Definitely for the budget conscious.
The paint, which I put through a thin layer chromatographic analysis, separating the organic compounds, is consistent with canned spray paint. A few different graffiti crews like to get creative with this stuff. Walk over to the computer and you'll find that shoe print scanned in. Hey, I scanned that print into the computer for you. Nothing new to report on that. I've put that into the image enhancement and microscopy equipment for you. Microsil mold of an impression? Clever. Ran a few processes, enhanced it further, reversed it, and voila! Serial number SN21003.
Time of death? 28 hours prior, give or take a few hours. Yesterday, around dinner time. I don't know. Not sure any of these are similar enough. Looks like you got a match. Pretty consistent with the size 11. Though prints from mud can be misleading.
Not that I could find. Fluid was lost from the victim, though. That could attract some blowflies anywhere the body has recently been.
We're with the crime lab and we need to speak with the manager.
I'm the manager and owner, Marcus Vanderhalen. Is there a problem?
There's no problem. We just have some questions. Background on an investigation.
Always a pleasure to be of service to law enforcement. Oh my, numerous people. It's a house specialty. Not always on the menu, you understand. But patrons flock here for it, when it's available. You'll have to be much more specific. Would you mind keeping your voice down, officer? It's a terrible problem that I frankly can't seem to do anything about. I've called you people dozens of times, and while I know you can't be everywhere at once, these tramps, bums, this human refuse, they frequent my aliens of dumpsters like a buffet line. This kind of thing, you understand, makes my patrons most uncomfortable. I'd rid the world of that filthy rabble if I could, much less my alley. These lowlifes are always lurking about back there, and as you might imagine, my relationship with any one of them is limited to chasing them the hell away. I wouldn't know one from the other. Interchangeable riffraff. We have an exclusive clientele, and as much as I would like to be of help, I must protect their privacy. No, I cannot do that.
That's all we need right now. Well, it may be a fine restaurant, but this is one rank alley. It's got to be a better place for a guy down on his luck to find a meal. Truffle special and an asparagus omelet. Truffle special with a baked Alaska dessert. Truffle special, grilled eggplant pasta. Leftovers. Someone hungry enough might find this worth eating. Powdery substance. Torn cloth. Someone must have got snagged hopping the fence.
Yes? Can't think of much more to tell you about that. Diphacinone, a highly toxic rodenticide. Rat poison. but somebody sprinkled it on. It wasn't mixed in.
You mean someone's out to get homeless people?
Nice, huh? The rat here is the one sprinkling on poison like it's seasoning. Warwick, these are human beings, people in trouble, and some restaurant owner is going to just get rid of them like they're an infestation because they're bad for business?
I hear you. This guy's starting to really rub me the wrong way.
So we know somebody ordered that telltale asparagus omelet, only we don't know who. Table scraps, but high-end ones. Kind you say you're bringing home to Poochie and then microwave for yourself. I've done everything I can think of with that. Denim fabric. Found blood on it. I've thermocycled it and dropped the chromosome map into the computer.
I don't know. Not sure any of these are similar enough.
Diphacinone? Manufacturers are required by law to incorporate an indicator dye to help identify it in the organs and bloodstream if the pesticide has been ingested. I found no traces of that or the poison itself in the body. However, there are ways to mask traces of poison, and this victim certainly shares many of the same characteristics that you'd find with a poisoning death.
Need something? The graffiti plus those tough tread bruiser prints? Yeah, I know those graffiti punks. Try the bloody core. You should go check their hangout. I'll check. Yeah, here it is. Gotta love the net. Sold at a public sale at a cancer clinic about a year ago. No name, though. You got it. That's a good, solid lead. Make our entrepreneur pal look it up for you.
Reluctantly, I will honor your warrant and pray that you will remain discreet.
Hey. With the credit card info, you should be able to track the person's identity on the computer. I've set up a search for you.
Got a hit. J.J. Thomas. Address and everything.
What's up?
Wow, and I thought Sanders' crib was a mess. Blank. Could be useful anyway. Damn, it's just a partial. It's a bad habit, but good evidence.
What's up? Print's in the computer for you. You're welcome. Electrostatic imprint lifter shows us what was on the previous page. Handwritten, pawn shop, Ogden and 4th. Tiny traces of mitochondrial DNA. I was able to amplify it enough for a profile, waiting for you in the computer. And we have a match. Same exact paint batch as that stuff swabbed at the Laughing Academy.
Yeah, a real lead. Let's track Sid down and see how vicious he is.